All right. What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday. I was trying to make sure that I wasn't going to be wrong about that. Sometimes I am. What was I going to say? It's a few people who are running some open panels and stuff, so I was just going to jump around and say hello to them and weigh in on some of their topics and see what's going on out there in the land of the tubes of you and of the tubes of you and of hey. All right. So I like to put little marker emojis down to make sure that I'm paying attention to what's going on in chat. Hi, Chuck. How you doing, man? Good to see you. One more, and then we'll jump into lower class here and see what he's doing. A minute ago, they had Duck on there talking about should law be involved in marriage. I was like, no, duh. That's a fucking obvious one. But of course, Duck had every retarded answer in the book as to why they should be. What's up, Gorilla Biscuits? How's it going, man? Good to see you. I am doing good. Actually got some sleep last night. That's better than the night before, I'll tell you that. I can allow it, but you won't be able to capture it. Yeah. Alright, hold on. See, they won't let you get any further. That shit makes me mad. I have to give it access to my camera, which means it has to take it over whether I want to use the camera on stream or not.
He was pumping. What's up, EOD? He was pumping a bunch of like what equates to American Treasury bonds into the manufacturing sector. They were called MIFO bills, and he propped up the economy on these things. And then when it came time for these companies, and like you look into this, I promise you.
Well,
Yeah, when it came time for all these major companies to go, okay, we have these bills, but these aren't necessarily useful when it comes to like paying for food and things like that.
It's
That's
like
when
it makes the
Hitler started
value.
to take over other countries.
So who's this now?
We're talking about Funny Mustache Man.
Right on.
Yeah.
Not Chaplin.
So what the
Chaplin was the original.
Yeah. So what a lot of people. Oh, someone else is here.
Oh, hello.
What's going on?
Hola, senor.
Is me audio okay?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. It was just that I saw your stream about the open panel discussing about like government staying out of marriage.
Yeah. We kind of got off topic a little bit. Well, what's going on? We can get back on topic.
Oh yeah, no, get back on topic, and I'll hop in.
Yeah, right on, man. Well, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank
do you have anything you wanted to add in, brother?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I don't know. It sounds like you have moved on quite a bit. You were talking about Ukraine a minute ago. Now you're talking about Mustache Man's funny money. But I was looking at some stats about divorce and how shit gets divvied up when a divorce happens, and some of that shit's kind of egregious. The way it's possible for it to happen. Of course, you got a lot of testimony from folks like Duck saying, "Oh, that would never happen. Oh, we're so happily married." Until 10 years down the line, you're suddenly embittered against each other. It's a different attitude when you go to court, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, and that's kind of why I was like, well, should the government have a responsibility to the child at least? So that way, when both parents are maybe thinking irrational, there's some entity to protecting the child.
Now, see, for the benefit of the child, that's a different thing.
But
in
which
the
is
actual marriage itself, do you see what I'm saying?
No,
like,
I agree.
Yeah.
But I guess I would argue that the government's using for protection of the child to then weasel its way into the conversation again.
That's fair.
Yeah, because I would say that the government shouldn't. Personally, I believe that the government shouldn't have no interaction of marriage, but they should take a step back when it comes to it. And the only time the government should go really hardline is when child endangerment is afoot.
Based.
No, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. I can get on board
I
with
would
that.
say they also kind of have to recognize it. I would say I see a weird conundrum if the government doesn't recognize it when they can do some
Oh
shit.
yeah, the government shouldn't just make up a falsity and say,
Yeah,
"Oh, your child's in danger. We're going to take them away when
yeah.
there's no danger." You know.
And I think, especially with our government and the way they will use one policy to then get 5 policies and then get 10 policies, and now
Mm.
the government's in control, and it definitely worries me, especially around marriage because we've seen it.
Oh yeah, no,
Well,
definitely. We've especially in the US, we've seen massive encroachment on civil rights beginning in the 90s with the US and obviously continuing past 9/11.
well, there's a lot of restrictions on what CPS can do and when and how. I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints about CPS is it takes them too long to actually act and accomplish
That's
anything
true.
by trying to get people to come in, you know?
Hmm.
But with regard to taking the state out of marriage, though, I feel like child protective services and custody would still remain relatively the same, right?
I would assume yes.
Yeah.
At least in my outlook, yes. I would remain with that agency and kind of when you enter. Well, I guess how would the divorce proceeding? Like, who would you do that to?
There wouldn't be because there wouldn't be any marriage in the first place. But custody would be something that's jointly established to two parents living in the same home with the child, right? So
Yes.
that just becomes a separate thing.
I was going to say that you can be married by the church and the church can divorce you. The only time the government would take a step in is dividing up assets and like money.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem with state-sponsored marriage in the first place, right? Is this
yeah, no, definitely
the common law principles of equitable distribution, right? So that's where, you know, if the two parties can't agree, the court makes a decision and they basically cut everything down the middle. And so even if the woman, you know, spent the past 20 years sitting on her ass and, well, I shouldn't say that, but not bringing in an income, right, or not contributing anything to the household, she still ends up with half the assets at the end of the marriage. That's fucked up.
Yeah. No, I agree. Or
yeah,
I mean,
I think if you're gonna have like at a bare minimum, it should just be, let's say you and your wife are living in a shared home, but obviously with the split, I don't believe instinctively it should go directly to your wife, but at the very least there should be a baseline that can go right. You can eat, you can get a place to stay, but we're not
mhm,
going to give you all of your husband's assets just because you're divorced.
Right. I
yeah.
mean, there's a reasonable place to draw the line, sure. I mean, obviously some things belong to both parties, right? Like a
Mhm.
car or a house that was acquired during the marriage is something that should be probably litigated. I would say that the church is perfectly capable of handling that, but and if the church doesn't come to, you know, a reasonable conclusion, then take it up with the court, and at that point, it's suing somebody for theft, essentially. And again, it doesn't necessarily fall under the purview of marriage or the court's purview over marriage, right? So
That's what they did for hundreds of years, where the church would manage divorce, but if it ever became a civic issue, then it would travel to the courts.
sure.
See, and because of my supreme big brain in my head, I feel like what I think is right, you know. But to me, for me, like I just think the most reasonable like solution to this issue would to have marriage and civil unions be two completely different things. So when
Yeah.
you get married in the church, you have no government involvement into whatever you're doing, and that is solely a commitment between you, another person, and God through the church, right? And then the civil union is where you get the government involved, and that's where like fiscal incentives, all these different things come into play. And that would be
Mhm.
more of an elective to have with alongside your marriage than be considered marriage, which just
I
goes
say
against the whole principle in the beginning.
I think you're just inviting the problem to continue with a different name. The whole problem is that the court has, you know, some leverage to come in and say that this stuff belongs to you, this stuff belongs to you, and that's where things start to get fucked up. So I think we need to separate the concerns that the court is trying to litigate, you know, property versus custody, primarily, right? And then just make those separate concerns. They don't have to have anything to do with civil union. The court shouldn't even be involved in it. That doesn't need to be.
No, I agree. But if someone were to want something like that, it can be an elective. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
mean, it's an elective now. It's not like you're required to get married at any point, but
Well, no, right. But like, if two people want to get married, they're immediately bound with a contract to the state. Like that's just how
I was
everything's
going to
written
say,
in our
because there
laws.
is a way to get married without having like any state contract, which is
That's a civil union.
International waters and get married by a captain because they still have the power to do that somehow.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. Maritime law is silly.
Yeah.
But I mean, does the state even recognize that? That would be a concern at the end of the day. Probably not in a lot of cases.
Or what happens when like institutions like, let's say, healthcare? What if they don't recognize it and they're like, well, you can't get healthcare because you didn't.
True.
You didn't technically get married. You just.
Well, if we're talking about eliminating the state's involvement in marriage, then that would obviously echo out into places like health insurance or life insurance, that kind of thing. But still, like when I was in the military, I had to sign up for a life insurance policy, and I got to delegate who my benefactor was, and I just said my dad. I didn't have to specify that it was my father. It didn't matter that they were related to me or not. It could have been anybody. So that's an easy solution, right? That industry will easily adapt to the situation. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the industry should recognize that just because you're not formally married by a governing body doesn't mean that you are unapplicable for certain policies or like health plans, something like that.
Sure. I didn't, there's a matter of what, family closest relatives are the only people allowed to visit in certain situations if someone is in intensive care or something like that. Yeah. So that's something that too can be sort of specified or waived within the health insurance policy, I would say. So. Yeah. So this person is my spouse, essentially, and that's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think these are easily solvable, minutia kind of issues, where the real problem that we're trying to get at is state involvement in marriage in the first place, and like I say, having some leverage to come in and say you can have the kids and you get the yacht and you get the the SUV and yada 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 on down the line.
Well, the thing is, it's beneficial to the state as well because with these matters that they interfere with, I don't like the state get a proceed from stepping in and like seeing the proceedings and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely pay court costs every time you go to court, and those get higher every fucking year.
It's beneficial to them to keep their involvement in it.
Yeah.
I guess it also does give them the control that they kind of fight hard for as well. Make it seem like they're the big G that's above the marriage instead of God.
Right. And it's not just that; it's above every aspect of your life that they can get their hands in. They were forcing you to wear seatbelts in your car. Now, for decades, that was not illegal. And who are you to tell me what kind of safety equipment I want to actually employ in my own damn vehicle? Yep. And then now they're deeply rooted in marriage and in divorce proceedings. Back in the 50s, in the idyllic home, marriage was pretty uncommon. It was a little bit unheard of. It was socially stigmatized, right?
Yep.
So it wasn't really that big of a deal at the time. But as time went on and, Democrats started instituting social policies for single mothers and this, that, and the other thing, it suddenly became more and more appealing to just say, fuck you, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
problem is that with the government, they just want as much power as possible.
Or I don't need a government. I just need or I don't need a husband. I just need the government.
Exactly. There's somebody.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, there's somebody else for me to fall back on. Absolutely.
Yep. And there's honestly there's a good argument for divorce is incentivized, kind of heavier than marriages in some cases when with the government involved. Let me put that little asterisk there.
It's at least a safety net.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like even I guess even having a safety net would incentivize. Hey, you know what? It's even I can fall back and still be okay and still maintain what I have now, except I can go be with someone else.
Right. And it's funny. I was having a debate with a guy, and I debated this with him 2 nights in a row about whether or not marriage should be enforced by the state. And obviously, like I take the position the government should stay out of marriage entirely, right? Like that's what I believe should happen. Everyone has their own things, but he believes the exact opposite, where if 2 people get married, that if someone tries to leave the marriage, direct quote, the police should come get them and bring them back to the house.
Oh.
And my thing with that is
that's fucked up.
You say that, but would you want the government right now, the way it is, in the structure that it's under, which it seems the more government gets involved with marriage, the less successful they are, right? When it comes, and successful to me is one party dies in the marriage, right? Like that's, to me, that's a successful marriage. I know that sounds kind of bad, but it's
What?
till death do us part. If you stay together and you maintain your union with each other and maintain your commitment with each other until one person dies, like that is a successful marriage. Very simple, maybe pea brain take. I don't know.
I was going to say this guy who was saying that the police should arrest you for wanting a divorce. He must be a big fan of 1984 then.
Right? Fucking Gestapo coming in your house and rounding up your wife. What the fuck, man?
He loves hearing the police knock on his door.
Yeah. So, but my thing was like with the government the way it is right now, why would you ever want to give them that element of control? And then what it came down to was, he was like, well, so I'd only want it then if there were these very specific like hypotheticals involved where society values marriage enough to want it to be enforced, and then the government follows suit with what society wants.
That's a duck, everybody. You gotta be kidding. That's fucking duck. Before all the mushrooms. Holy shit.
That's the big thing is like, I feel like if government were to take its hands off of marriage and we as a society were to slowly push towards valuing marriage for what it is, there wouldn't need to be any governmental incentive involved in the relationship itself. Like when it comes to kids, that's definitely one-offs, right? But with the marriage itself, I just don't see any benefit to having government involved in
I was going to say though, if what happened if there was talking hypothetically, let's say the government did enforce marriage. What happened if there was a situation where someone was in a terrible marriage and in danger, but you can't leave because it's government enforced?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
What's up, Ashton? Welcome in, man.
What's up, you beautiful bitches?
What's up, Ashton? Good to see you, man. Here, wait, hold on a second. I got something to share with you guys. Okay, I'm gonna present and show you this one picture. If I can find it. Hold on. Here we go. And then this one. Yep, that's the one. Okay, throw that in there. This, guess who that is? Do you guys recognize that?
That's Duck.
That's fucking Duck. Is that amazing? That was Duck, like 5 years ago. So
now he's such an asshole.
I know, right? It was all the fucking mushrooms. That's what it was. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah,
Is that before he stopped eating meat?
Yeah, apparently that's right before he went vegan. Somebody showed up in my kick chat and showed me that.
That's
All right,
fucking.
Abe's coming in with a banger real quick, guys. 1 second. He says, "What's up, Balzania? Welcome in, bro." He says, "Strong moral family units are an important element to a functioning society. Breaking the family structure or creating benefits to break it inevitably leads to a breakdown in society." Methinks. Based, I agree, my friend.
The other thing, though, as well, is that if you advocate for more government encroachment into marriage, that opens the door for the government to go, oh, because we've now got more control of your marriage, we should have more control over your workplace, or, you're pretty much opening the door for the government to take more power from your personal lives.
Absolutely.
The only people that should have control over marriage, I think, honestly, should be like the churches. Whether it be the Jewish temples, whether it be the Orthodox Church, whether it be a Baptist church, I don't think state should have anything involved with marriage, because that's where we've seen like a lot of these civil unions and things change the way marriage even works and how the incentives for marriage has changed. Yeah. When you have something based off of religious values, the marriage is made from the religious aspect of things. Marriages tend to usually last a little bit longer, and they don't end in a 50% divorce rate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing I was trying to say earlier, where when people, when they decide to get married, right? If they're doing it for a commitment to each other and God, well, I guess to God and each other, right? Like God comes first. That's my own personal opinion. If God comes first in my relationships, they're much more successful. They always have been. But if people make just solely a commitment between God and themselves, there is, I would say, undoubtedly, and I wish I had some like numbers on this, but a higher success rate for the marriage to go all the way through till death, right? It just seems like, a lot of these marriages today, especially with, there is literally no criteria for who can get married in society. So much so that I could go to Las Vegas and get fucked up and meet some stripper, and we have a night of drinking and doing blow, and then end
Get
up
married
going
by
to some
Elvis.
chapel and getting married, and I wake up and now I'm bound by contract to the government.
Exactly.
It's those kinds of
Indeed.
things that I if there's a lot more thought put into like how important something like marriage is, at least to society by and large, I feel like there would be just a higher success rate, and I mean, we as a society would do a lot better. That's an opinion, though.
Yeah.
Well, in Pennsylvania, the state law is even when you get your marriage certificate, you cannot get married for 3 days. You cannot get legally married until 3 days after you've already gotten the marriage license. Now, I don't know how that works in other states, but like you literally have to have a 3 day waiting period to make sure like this is something you actually want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
even still, I mean, I think probably be even stronger protections in the church, right? Most churches are going to look at that as a much more serious thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because they want you to succeed in your marriage, not fall apart and then get divorced and go astray, especially if there's children involved.
Absolutely.
Not even like property wise. They're looking more on the aspects of, okay, you guys have 2 children together. You have to make this work for them.
Right.
So that way they're not put at a disadvantage later on in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because historically with the church, the divorce was like the final option if all the other options were exhausted. Because, going back, if you want to get a divorce, the church would go, okay, well, can we work this out? Can we, if you walked into a church and asked for a divorce, they wouldn't just go, yeah, just sign here. They would try and work out first. You were only divorced if it was a serious matter or,
If there was abuse involved or like adultery involved, that was mainly the grounds that you had for divorce back then. When the churches and stuff were rolling over it and deciding the factors of what, okay, is your partner actually being dishonest and distasteful to you, or is your partner, not doing his duties or her duties in a relationship?
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, oh, well, he made me sad and I don't like him anymore and I want to go bang the millionaire playboy philanthropist that's up in the towers in Las Vegas right now because I want to.
And there was a societal incentive to stay together too, man.
Yeah.
The societal incentive was, if I get into a marriage and I get divorced, that is going to be baggage in any relationship moving forward.
Sure.
And it seemed like a lot of people thought about these kinds of things at one point in time and didn't just get divorced all like left and right the way they do today.
Oh yeah, because marriage was like a central pillar in the rebuilding years after the American Civil War, where it was like, guys,
Sure.
Go home, make a home for yourself, find a wife,
It was big after World War II as well. Ashton, can you do me a favor, Bo? When you're not talking, can you mute? You got a lot.
Yeah, sorry,
you got a lot of shit going on in the background. It sounds like you're building a car or something.
My bad. I just got off work. I was doing dishes and shit. I forgot that my headset picks up on like everything. My apologies.
It's all good, man. Oh shit! But what am I saying? Yeah, man. There's gonna be a lot more protections, a lot more analysis with your priest. Well, I didn't mean for him to leave. My bad.
Oh.
He probably was trying to mute and then closed out on accident. It's happened before.
Or refresh the page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Single Dad's Club says, I wish there was a same grace period for having kids. 3 days before I make up my mind, right?
Yeah, no shit, dude.
That's a good one.
Hey, W Singles Dad's Club, man. That was funny as hell.
Anyway, what am I saying is the church is going to make a much greater analysis of the relationship and your relationship with your kids and go over all the things that you have to, all the responsibilities that go with it and everything. And I think ultimately having some shame focused on the idea of a divorce is probably healthy for society too, healthy for the marriage rate too, which that's going to come along with the church. So I just think it was a huge mistake for the state to even be involved in it in the first place. And everything about it would be better if we just moved the state out of it, And I think, like I say, it's small hurdles in order to get there. It's just people are are afraid of doing it, especially after the gay marriage shit. Because they're like, oh, then gay people aren't going to be able to get married. I'm like, well, there's not going to be any special benefit to being married in the first place. So
the problem with the gay marriage argument, a lot of that was misconstrued, because I think for most people who were against it were just saying, no, we don't want them married in a church because it's a completely different, subset. They weren't against gay marriage in the sense of like a civil union. They were just against gay marriage in a church setting. That was it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying earlier, where like, if there wants to be some kind of institution like civil union where people can elect to have that done and go before the government and get something like that done, I don't necessarily see an issue with that, because you're choosing it at that point, right? But if two people want to get married, make a commitment before God, and they want to do solely that and nothing else, I feel like, it should be recognized, but there shouldn't be anything done by the government to decide what goes where and who gets what and yada yada yada.
Exactly, because if you're going to proclaim like the separation of church and state, then it should entirely be separate. It shouldn't be, you do not want. I mean, the government shouldn't encroach on anything, but you don't want them encroaching on your church.
Correct.
Right.
Well, the government's going to take that and be like, well, so we need to remove the religious side component of marriage. If the state wants that power, they're okay with that power, so they'd push out anything else that also shares that power.
Yeah.
It doesn't make them right, but
yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Well, they lose the name of it. Then they can have their own name for it.
Civil union,
marriage never had the state involved at one point. It was literally just it was just a covenant made between two people and God, right? So, like now, we've gotten to this point where when you say marriage, most people, considering that we live in what seems to be a society moving farther away from God every day, when people say marriage, they don't even think about like the religious connotation to it and what it actually means, like what that word is. The word is the covenant between a God and a couple, right? Like that's what marriage is. So if the government wants their own thing and wants to have their own, little word and something where people can elect to have them stick their grimy fingers and toes into a relationship, they can have that. But that's not marriage.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, fuck, guys. Someone say something we can argue on.
What's the
I don't know.
When I joined in, what was someone saying about mustache man?
Well,
I was just talking about Corey was talking about how he thought, like, at the end of World War II, how Poland ended up getting given to the USSR, how it was crazy because, the incitement of World War II basically started with Hitler going into Poland. And all I was saying was, a lot of that had to do, it wasn't necessarily where, Hitler was taking Poland to kill any specific group of people or anything, but he had just destroyed their economy so bad by that point. Because like right before he went into Poland, so what he did was he bolstered their economy with what like amounts to, and I mean, I don't want to say it amounts to, but it can be compared to treasury bonds, right? And he had used those to boost their military, used those to boost the economy, and that's where this massive like technological and economic surge came from in Germany. Well, as these MIFO bills, as they started to, as like the check needs to get cashed now, there wasn't enough resources because of where Germany's economy came from. So it's just, there's a strong correlation between how, this money, these checks needed to get cashed, and Hitler started to move into different countries and take all their resources, and a lot of that, the scapegoating against, the tiny hat folks was so he could take their resources, like they found all sorts of like old gold and massive amounts of wealth, and he was essentially like stripping these people of everything they had because he had decentralized the banks, throwing them into ghettos, and then utilizing their money that they kept within the synagogue and all that to essentially like cash the checks that he had given people,
Yeah, and it was also like obviously when they occupied Poland, you did have a massive surge of a lot of like German industrialists who set up shop in Poland because of how cheap and easy it was to make things. So that also bolstered Germany's economy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like Oscar Schindler, because he went to Poland and made a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. See, and that's why, like, there's like, I don't doubt that he had, because like when you listen to his speeches, I don't doubt that he had some kind of idea of, like restoring the Rhineland to some degree, but there's not a good argument for why he started going into other countries.
No.
He wanted to take over the world. That's such a fucking tired trope. Like world leaders are not comic book villains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, Hitler kind of was though. But
I mean, yeah. And a lot of comic book villains were made after him. Of course, I totally agree. But
yeah. See, you can Hitler was tyrannical, but he didn't want to take over the world. At the very most, he wanted to expand, I believe, so far into Russia for Lebensraum. And
right.
He wanted all of Europe. He damn near got it, but.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Well, to be fair, France just laid over backwards for him, and that was a huge chunk of Europe.
Yeah. But
you're welcome, France, USA, USA.
So did Switzerland and fucking a bunch of smaller countries.
But they actually shot down Allied and Axis planes.
I didn't know that. I thought they would tried to stay out of the conflict altogether.
Yeah, so they were neutral and stayed out of the conflict, but they were essentially like, if you fly over our airspace, I don't care who you are, you're getting. I think they shot down 32 American planes and 60 German ones.
No shit.
Oh damn.
That's why, like, most of the conflicts and the military logistical, like, movement was through Belgium, right? Like, they went around Switzerland. Am I wrong?
Oh, so with World War One and World War Two, they used Belgium as like, we're gonna cut around and go through.
Yeah. It was like the war doormat for fucking Europe in those two wars. It's so sad, man. I feel bad for those folks.
It's pretty insane how bad Europe got between those two wars.
So okay. I will take a negative position just so we have something to argue. So check it out. Muammar Gaddafi, one of the things that he was doing in Libya right before we toppled him, and people can argue that, but I'm not arguing that. Right before he was toppled, let's say, he was incentivizing families to raise children and send them to college through the government and government packages. What do y'all think about that?
Sounds pretty socialist to me. If you ask me,
it is. It's socialist as hell.
I'd probably say that's a big no, because it's kind of, it seems like, especially with our government style, it's like this project is going to turn into another project and then a constant stream of funding with no return. Like, because if we're kind of leaning toward skilled labor is kind of better, electrician, a mechanic, and all these other jobs seem to do better. I think having the government incentivize sending money to universities would kind of end in the same thing we have now.
It's basically like what Joseph Stalin did, where like famous 10-year plans, where he was like, all right, we're going to raise this generation. They're all going to go off to study and work. 10 years down the line, we can start like building plants and factories and stuff.
Fair. So my question would be, because I think we all agree. Now, by the way, I want to make this clear. I am arguing a position I do not agree with. I'm just trying to come from something where we can all have a conversation here. So, does it matter the means if it gets to an end of increasing society's view and what's the word I'm looking for? If it increases the importance of marriage in society and makes people strive for something, do the means matter?
I would say if the government wants to incentivize, then that's fine, just so long as it doesn't enforce.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with my tax dollars being spent that way. I don't want the government to be directing culture at all. I think that's a mistake and a misstep and an overreach of the government. We need to encourage the church to proliferate, and then that should influence the fucking culture, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll get the intended effects if the government's trying to answer your problems.
Yeah,
I was going to say culture is definitely downstream from government completely. Yeah. So whenever you're sending all these kids to the covenant of the government within colleges and stuff, and they're paying for it, they're going to teach what they want to teach. It's not going to be a thought discussion based classroom. It's going to be, okay, this is what big government says.
Right. And historically, that's what it's been. And now all of our college institutions are overwhelmingly communist. You know, it's insane how crazy those fucking kids are. And then they spend a few years out of college making some real money, paying some real taxes, and suddenly they realize, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute. The Republicans weren't that fucking wrong about this shit.
Right.
It's funny with these like college commies as well, because if they actually met someone who lived under communism, they'd have a lot of things to say.
Oh, the Marxist and communist manifestos that go around a college campus these days are fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, but what I mean is that if one of these college commies met someone who lived in like a communist country, they wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, no, it's great." They'd be like, "Why the hell is that here?"
Yeah. I would like for them to talk to a Cuban.
Guys, I got to say, it's really hard to argue my side when every time you guys say something, I'm like, yeah, that's based. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, I don't even know what to say.
You can't play devil's advocate when you agree with the devil.
Well, what is it? We're talking about Muammar Gaddafi. I mean, I could give a shit less what happens in fucking Libya, you know. But if we're talking about implementing a similar policy in the United States, I have my reasons that I wouldn't want that to happen. And yeah, the government being involved is never a good thing.
Absolutely, I agree. I was just trying to argue from a position I don't agree with, and I'm not very good at
that. It's tough.
It really is.
It's because once you hear all the good arguments, you're like, damn. Those are good arguments.
You don't have to make the argument from the other side because you know.
Well, I want to, but there's so many facets to it, right? Because like you guys had kind of hit the nail on the head where it's very kind of a socialist ideal, and I am incredibly anti-socialist, you know. So when it comes to like taxpayers' dollars being given to people, and especially with no reciprocity structure involved, it's really hard for me to argue for that, you know. Like you can't argue for that without feelings. Like there's no way to do that logically. I don't believe so.
Yeah, no. Socialism just doesn't work. You know you need a society of robots for socialism to work. It just doesn't work.
Isn't there like a saying like it's like the smaller the group of people, the better that a communist society can thrive?
I think
except like no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, in the sense
I think that's mostly true. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about like a commune setting, like 100
or like
people
a family, even.
Yeah, but when you try to sorry, I was stuck in there. If you try to deploy that on a national scale, like size of a country, it just falls apart.
I think that depends on the country. Some smaller countries might be able to get away with it, like Guyana or Guam or some shit like that. But in the United States, 330 million people, coast to coast, across an entire continent, fuck no. That's never going to work.
No. Well, the thing is as well that you can't change human nature because out there, someone's going to go, well, hang on a minute. I work a lot harder than these people. Why am I giving them the same amount?
You have different lifestyles, different sets of opinions, different ideals about what the ideal life might be. And all of that depends upon what region of the country you grew up in and where you're from. That changes people a lot. So somebody from New York doesn't think like somebody from LA, just like, somebody from North Dakota doesn't think like somebody from the backwoods of Mississippi. So
yeah, exactly.
That's why we have this grand experiment in the first place, and why it's worked so well is because we all have our own little pockets where we have influence over our own lives and the way the government interacts with us.
America is the greatest country on earth.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
And I'm not even American, USA. So
USA.
Yeah.
Now we have our flaws, but man, our founding fathers and everyone throughout history has built something pretty incredible.
Hell yeah. It pains me to see that the federal government keeps expanding its influence and sort of shitting on that whole experiment in the first place. All of this stuff needs to be back to the states. And what happens when it gets to the Supreme Court? Supreme Court finds out, hey, you know what? Actually, that was an incorrect ruling, or actually Congress didn't have the jurisdiction to enforce that law in the first place. 10 years after it's been in effect, or 20 years, or 50 years sometimes. It gets turned back to the states. That's where it should have been in the first damn place.
Yeah, because you had that big pushback with after Waco, where the federal government was trying to go to the state of Texas and try and enforce upon them. Like, you need stricter gun laws because look what's happened.
Yeah.
And the state of Texas just told them to F off.
Yeah. They had every right to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We just need to embrace the 10th Amendment and appreciate what the country is built to do in the first place. I think we send, for instance, marriage back to the states. You're going to see more and more states look at it from a church-only kind of perspective, and that's going to be healthy for society. I think that's the pathway to get it done.
I think that's why Trump had a big W when he turned the Roe v. Wade. Like, I guess the Supreme Court overturned the Roe v. Wade, and he just delegated it to the states for them to handle.
Well, no, the Supreme Court ruled that it is in the purview of the states to make this decision, not the federal Congress.
Yep.
So that's a big win for Trump because he appointed the justices that came to that conclusion.
That's I guess, way better way to frame it.
Yeah.
And that's the perks of having judges that come off the panel whenever you have a Republican leader that's a conservative versus a Democratic leader who's more of a socialist or a leftist, because then, now we're going to reinstitute the factor of state law versus federal law.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government doesn't have its hands in every little aspect of life. They need to have the hands in where they need to be, such as defense, medical stuff, research and development. But at the same time, when it comes to marriage and societal structure, that should be at a state level. That way it's easier to contain within the states themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also easy to change. Like, if a group of people find that, our state's going a little too far, that's a lot easier to change than going straight all the way to the federal and being like, we need to change this law or change that.
I mean, you couldn't have a federal blanket law with things, because if they brought in, like, let's say, guys, we're going to get rid of all the rifles. One state that doesn't really use rifles will go, okay, but if you've got a state like Montana, they'll turn around and go, well, hang on a minute, we've got a load of wildlife out here.
Yeah.
What do we do then?
Yep.
Or Alaska or Kentucky, where hunting is a family pastime. So.
Or even in my state,
yeah, for sure. There's a lot. There's no way that would ever work.
Places in like Texas, I know they shoot wild hogs for destroying like vast amounts of like property.
Oh yeah, they make a big tourist killing off that, because they put people in choppers to shoot them, or like trucks.
Yeah. Texas is big, y'all. I'm gonna tell you what, it's fucking huge.
Texas is bigger than the UK.
Yeah.
In PA, we have feral hogs that are an invasive species that you can actually hunt them on Sundays, and you're allowed to use like any caliber, any rifle up to no, you can't use a 50 cal to blow it apart. You have to do it a humane way. But you can use AR, you can use whatever. I'd love to see a hog get hit by a 50 cal BMG.
I'm saying, dude, he ain't gonna feel it. Come on.
Not in South America like a 50 cal.
Just a nice little red tip incendiary round. Just hit the freaking hog right in the head while it's split into pieces.
You just need one of those like Huey choppers from Vietnam with 2 miniguns on
it. Playing Ride of the Valkyries as you come in with the rifle.
M60 sitting out the side.
Hell yeah, man. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah. Get some.
Here to kick
Don't beat him as much.
I can't think of anything more humane.
I can't think of anything more American.
I can't think of anything more patriotic.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Hell yeah.
You see the screaming bald eagle in the background, dude, and that sets the scene.
Right.
Fortunate Son playing, you know what I mean?
With a big old American flag hanging off the back of the chopper.
Absolutely.
And what is a kilometer?
What the fuck is a kilometer? Yes,
sir. Need that converted into freedom units.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit fire. Oh, Wobbly says his bathroom is bigger than the UK.
Yeah.
Bear, now thanks for jumping in, bro. I'm glad you jumped in today.
Hell yeah.
Anyone else want to talk about anything?
Well, I would like Duck to come back. And that would be a perfect time he should come back.
Right.
Yeah. I was hoping that would last a little longer, man.
See, he's not a strong performer. You can only last for so long, and then he's like, I got to check out.
What was
literally hopped in like a tail end. I was literally about to jump in. I saw a duck. I was like, "Oh, I'll jump in. I have like 10-minute break while I'm at work. I'll jump in real quick." And then as soon as I went to load StreamYards, he was gone. I'm like, "What the fuck?"
That's because he's a wanker. He's just a wanker, to use a British colloquialism. But what's the problem with him? He doesn't want to talk about anything, man. You start nailing him down and start figuring out his points, and he wants to wiggle away from it or call you a fucking piece of shit for one reason or the next, or to say that you're not supported by real evidence, this, that, and the other thing. Just completely deflect. I'm not going to defend anything I have to say. I'm just going to state it like it's fact, and if you don't believe it, you're an asshole. I hate that shit.
He jumped down lower class's throat because lower class was he didn't even get to make his opinion before he got jumped down his throat.
Yeah,
I think it was like 5 sentences and white trash or trailer trash came out.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, you can say that, man, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the more government's gotten involved with marriage, the higher divorce rates gotten. I mean, like that's an undeniable correlation. Everyone agrees with that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you don't want more government control because it just leads to like a really powerful government that eventually spirals down to authoritarianism.
Yeah, well, and then like we were saying, it incentivizes things like divorce. It incentivizes people to take advantage of one another. It's all kinds of ripe with opportunities for abuse. And it's like every time leftists want to institute one social policy or the next wave for government to reach into your life and tell you what to do, they completely ignore the idea that maybe somebody is going to have malicious intent while leveraging this policy that you're instituting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I hate that's so frustrating. And you try to explain that to them, and like, well, people in my world just don't do that. Okay, they have good morals. We have good morals on the left. You righties are just fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah, but everybody don't. Everybody don't have good morals, and you have to prepare yourself for the people who are going to engage in that policy who don't have good morals.
Yeah. Well, the truth is,
reason we have checks and balances.
The truth is, there's plenty of immoral people on the left. There's tons of them. Okay, there's tons of people who are getting food stamps and going to the fucking grocery store and picking up steak and lobster with them instead of something that's actually nutritious and helpful for their family. And
selling the food stamps for cash that they'll buy for like drugs and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, dude,
or beer.
People go to the dope house with a food stamp card, and you get 50 cents, $1 for food stamps, and you can go and you can buy a whole bag with it, dude. It's crazy.
You can buy candy from the gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how does that supplement, people that, I don't know how that helps. Yeah. It's like, but the only thing you can't buy are pre-made meals or already made meals. So it's like, wouldn't that be the thing you want them buying out other than anything else is already the pre-made meals?
I would think. Yeah.
Yeah. Because my girl had gotten it when she had her first son because he was like, he had qualified after, when he had like RSV and stuff like that. He was born prematurely, and he's born at like 30 weeks, and so she qualified for it. And some of the stories that she told me of the things that she could get but couldn't get, it makes no sense. Absolutely no sense.
Well, you see that again. That's social Marxist overreach, right? Like, oh, we can't let them buy unhealthy food that's pre-made or processed food. We don't want them to buy that. They have to buy fresh food, and it's like, okay, well, now you run into the problem where a lot of these neighborhoods where these impoverished people live don't have a big ass fucking grocery store. They got like the corner store with a freezer section that's got a few Hungry Mans in it, and that's probably the best they're going to be able to do. Well, food stamps don't cover that, but food stamps will. If you drive 30 minutes across town to the big grocery store, they'll get you a steak and a lobster. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, the socialists will be like, rely on the government to feed you, where you've got like the libertarian types will be like, no, I'm going to feed myself.
Yeah. That's a leg up, not a handout, is much more humanitarian in my mind.
Yep.
Let me give you some vocational training. Let me set you up with a career path, and then you don't have to ask me for fucking food or money.
Well, the church does it better. They'll do little pantry drives, and it's like, hey, if you can't get enough groceries, here, we'll give you like bread, we'll give you some cans, we'll give you some items that can hold you over until you're able to get back on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a couple of members of my family who've benefited from exactly that type of program from a church. I don't know what they would have done without it. So
I'm gonna be honest, my mom did it, and like as a kid, you're like, oh, why can't I have gushers and this, that, and the third? But like thinking back on it, I'm like, wow, no, you had the stuff you needed. You had stuff that lasted. You had
a lot of cans. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cans, bread. Like she would come home just with wild loaves of bread of different stuff, and it's the first time I ever seen the variety of bread.
Well,
Like wow,
the church also established like free medical centers, free like place to go and educate yourself. You know, so with the church, it goes far beyond than just like food.
Yes, for sure, for sure. It's it.
Hell, when I go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you were talking. I kind of interrupted you, EOD. That's all me.
Oh.
Go ahead, buddy.
Well, a church is a strong, tight knit community. They're willing to do whatever's necessary to help somebody in need, you know, and you don't get that out of specific facets of the government that are focused on these one striated issues like the food stamp office.
Yeah, there's a reason why the church has been foundational for like the past 2,000 years.
Right.
You also have to think of the element of subsidization inside. So like when you are like, yes, we're pro the government helping people either eat or helping people, find stuff, you got to realize that the government's literally just writing a check saying, hey, we'll pay for X thing from institute or incorporated. So it's really just a direct streamline of money from the government to a corporation.
Yeah. Well, and just to piggyback off that, like I don't think anybody can argue that the church can operate as like social programs, but those are voluntary societal social programs. No one is like forced by law with the threat of going to jail to go to church and put money in the basket or donate to a church
Exactly.
or donate to some nonprofit, right? Like all this stuff is voluntary, and especially here in Birmingham, man. I mean, like the church does a lot. It does a lot for like the homeless population. Church of the Highlands, they have Serve Day, which is where like they go to people's houses that ask like, hey, like I have this issue, I can't really pay for it, and they'll have an entire team go from Church of the Highlands with the product and everything that they need to fix stuff, and they'll have someone go in and they'll like they do so much around here, and none of that is forced. Nobody is held by gunpoint to put that money in via some social contract. It's all based off of what people go and want to put into the basket or write the check to the church or whatever it may be. And those things function very, very well, right? I think once you cross that line of enforcement to where people have to do that, and then you're also, the money is going to a government that literally has no incentive structure to spend that money carefully, wisely, like fiscally conservatively at all. That's where you get all these abuses, and then eventually you get to the point where you have these government programs where it's just money going to them and they're literally doing nothing,
lighting it on fire.
Yeah, because I mean the government has no guarantee to you as a citizen what they're going to spend your tax money on. Because
right?
they could collect your tax money and went, okay, we're now going to war.
Yeah, exactly. And like piggybacking off what you're saying there, Bear, dude. A lot of the money that goes into like quote unquote aid packages to other countries, that gets cycled through the military industrial complex before it even makes it over to the other country.
Yeah. Or what they're considering to be aid happens to be, weapons of war or whatever. But
right.
One thing that sticks out of my mind is the California fires. But last year before, LA ran out of fucking water to fight the fire because there was some environmental, concern that the government had over all this still water being kept in one place or another in these reservoirs, and they wanted to let it out for some fish to be able to survive. So at the expense of the humanity living in LA, we have saved a stupid fish. Congratulations, you idiots.
Well, if you look more recently, like with the big hurricane that happened in the Midwest last year, and there was no aid packages coming through, and people who were getting it was like, you're getting a $200 loan from FEMA, you have to pay that back.
Oh my God, a loan? You got to be kidding me. What, they wrote him a $750 check in Lahaina and acted like that was a big damn deal.
So that there was a hurricane that came and hit North Carolina not that long ago.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just got my FEMA check maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Are you serious? You just got it?
Yeah.
Good
It was wild too because like I was looking through my bank account, and then my girl was like, "There's $750 added to this." I'm like, "What?" And then I look at it, and there it is, FEMA, and then a bunch of side numbers from, I guess, the name of the transaction. It was set the $750, and I think it had been almost a year and a half after that event.
Yeah, yeah.
And so many people lost their
North Carolina
homes
went
and
red. They
everything,
don't give a
man.
fuck about y'all.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true too.
We didn't in South Carolina. We didn't quite have it as bad. There was a lot of, I guess, areas closer to the coast, but like I mean, I still see people whose porch is completely destroyed, or they're in the aspect of fixing it. Like even the place on our main street, there's an older building that had its front porch was all slammed in from a tree, and
Damn.
they haven't even began to fix it. I mean, I guess they're waiting for that FEMA check.
I don't know. I reckon.
Forget who was it, Christy Nome, that came out and she said that like there are people who've been waiting on FEMA checks for like 10 years. Like there's some people who still haven't gotten their FEMA checks from like Hurricane Katrina.
Oh,
yeah.
If that's true, that is fucking egregious, bro.
Yeah, no, I served in Biloxi, Mississippi, right on the Gulf Coast for about 2 years when I was in the Air Force, and we used to tour the Gulf Coast up and down. We'd drive all the way out to New Orleans, west, and all the way out to Destin, Florida, east, all along the Gulf Coast. And the devastation, pretty much starts where Florida ends. The Florida Panhandle ends, and then it just goes until you get to New Orleans, and New Orleans is pretty much back together. But all the communities in between, there were still, empty lots where buildings had been and they'd been torn down or absolutely eradicated by the flooding, and old, southern homes that were just absolutely had to be gutted because they were flooded from the ground to the, top of the first floor.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It was just awful devastation, and it persisted. Like I served out there like 5-6 years after Katrina had been done and over with. I thought most of that had been settled, but no. Like in Pass Christian, there's just plot after plot after plot after plot of empty fucking buildings that used to be there, and it's just a ghost town now. Or at least it was when I served. I mean, fuck, that was 10, 15 years ago. So I would have hoped something had been done with those smaller communities by now, but.
Well, I guess it depends who's got the power to fix it. Because I mean, Democratic mayors, they're okay allowing some problems to maintain.
well, and I'll say, like, if it took that long, because you said 10, 15 years ago, that's 5-10 years after Katrina.
Yeah.
If it took that long, those people who were displaced by that probably grew roots wherever they ended up and just stayed there.
Exactly. So now, what? We just mark Pass Christian off the map? That's a ghost town? I mean, that's fucked up, man.
Yeah, no. I mean, look at Flint. Look how long it took Flint to figure out their water crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear reports that it's fixed. I hear reports that it's not really fixed, and it's just like Jesus.
And shit just persists with it. Incompetent fucking government, man. Incompetent government officials.
And then they blame the president. It's kind of no matter who's the president, it's like, come on. It's not. You don't think it's the guy that's his job to look after just your little section of area?
Right.
It's not his problem.
It absolutely is.
Well, East Palestine, Ohio.
Yeah, sure.
It was like, there are plenty of cases where local small town governments have completely screwed people over.
Yeah. And this entire conversation goes back to the topic at hand, where it's why the fuck would you want a government this incompetent or malicious, either or, involved in marriage? You know what I mean? Like,
it's a good question.
It really is crazy that this is even a question in today's society. But some people they like their They like their big daddy gov, man. It's
they're too reliant on the government, and that's why they don't want to have any individuality or breakaway.
Absolutely. Yeah. They feel like they're absolving themselves of responsibility, but you're putting it in the hands of like forgive the pun, but somebody who's fucking retarded, and cross-eyed and can't write straight. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing half the time. You know, because I remember during the North Carolina shit, I was seeing a lot of reports from North Carolina from people on the ground. There was that Amish folk were running around and mountain men were running around with horses and mules and helping people, you know, get over the rough terrain and everything. If it hadn't been for them, a lot of these people would have been stuck up in the fucking hills. Yeah. But they were saying, you know, well, the federal government's going to come and they're going to take care of it. And then FEMA would come out and say, well, no, we don't have, you know, the funding secured yet, so we're not going to be able to pay anybody for a long while. Then, you know, you go back to the county sheriffs and the people on the ground, and they're like, well, then fuck them. We're going to have to find our own way to handle this, you know? Yeah. And then what is all of the money going into FEMA for? If they
guys, you know? We're missing a huge issue. Well, it's the biggest problem of it all. It's obviously Donald Trump's fault.
Yeah, Orange Man bad. Clearly, Orange Man at fault.
He didn't nuke that hurricane, and since he didn't nuke it,
yeah.
No, Kamala Harris could have talked the hurricane down into a peace talk. You
know? That's what I'm saying. She did that with Russia and Ukraine. It worked so well.
Don't. Well, they fucking did anyway. Now what?
Yeah.
You're like, well, that was all I had.
No, you guys are getting it wrong. Kamala Harris would have blew the hurricane and got it to calm down.
You get the knee pads out and take care of it. Yeah.
Just like she did to get into office, she could have saved us from that national storm. She just had to huff and puff and blow her way down.
I didn't think he could get much worse than Biden, but man, they really tried with Kamala.
Oh, they sure as hell did. Excuse me. I am speaking.
There's a woman of color on this panel.
I know.
The thing with Kamala, though, is that she was saying a lot of stuff where it's like, if I'm president, I can do this. And it's like, hang on a minute, you were vice president for 4 years.
Right. What have you been doing all this time? And then when she's asked the question directly, if there was anything you could change about your vice presidency under Joe Biden, would there be? She's like, no, not that I can think of.
Like, I thought it was a fantastic job.
Absolutely crazy.
Inflation's at like 10%. There's 10 million illegals in the country. There's 2 different places at war right now. No, we're doing fucking peachy. We're fine, guys. Don't worry about it.
We will not say Merry Christmas. We will not.
Never.
Oh, the hilarious part about that is if you flash forward to the year following, it's Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Flip-flopping fucking snake, I swear.
It's like, look, guys, I support this issue. Oh, I can't? Okay, yeah, no, that was Joe Biden. That wasn't me. That was the stance of the original president.
You know, I will say the one thing with Kamala that actually enraged me the most during her campaign, which was only a couple months, but when she was on stage with a bunch of drag queens and she was like, y'all are the real Americans. Like, go fuck yourself, bitch.
No
like,
shit, dude.
Go back to California. Keep fucking throwing people who are smoking weed in prison and laughing about it when people ask you if you ever have. And leave this country to the real, like, dude, that really fucking, I got so hot when she said that shit. It was bad, dude.
Well, that's obviously why California burned down from that wildfire, is because she left.
She was blowing it all out, huh?
Yeah, she was.
See, they didn't arrest enough weed smokers. Clearly, someone threw a lit joint, and that was the reason for the fires. So, if she arrested more weed smokers,
right, yeah.
If you would have kept more weed smokers in jail, we wouldn't have had the forest fire.
Yeah.
For shit's sake. What was it? I heard they were fucking paying homeless people to start a lot of fucking wildfires so things would look worse under Trump.
I mean, they were paying them not to, so might as well pay them to do it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
They were just paying them.
Right, guys, I was just going to say thanks for having me on the panel. I'm going to shoot off now.
Hey, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, man.
It's good talking to you.
Thank you. Hopefully do this again soon.
Hell yeah.
Bear, you're always welcome, bro. Come on in whenever.
Oh, thank you. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Here's what we need.
Yeah. It's always nice to meet some. Yeah, it's always nice to meet some base motherfucker from Britain, man. It really is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Dude.
I worry about that country sometimes.
Their government does not like them.
Yeah.
I was starting to get worried because I heard there was somebody from the UK, and I was like, okay, is this dude going to be the argumentative one, or is he going to be the one that's like, yeah, I agree with you fuckers. You guys are all like perfect.
Nah, bro. Yeah, he's on point.
Like if you compare like how more left wing, I guess, his country's political situation is than ours, man, he's extremely far right.
Yeah.
They would probably lock him up if they found out he was on this podcast.
I still can't get over the fact they actually arrested fucking Count Dankula for making a pug do a Nazi salute on Twitter.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
And not
fucking
go
insane.
after the pug.
The pug's the one who did the thing. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh shit. That shit blows my fucking mind. But
I think there's a neo-Nazi pug somewhere out there on the loose.
Yeah.
You hear about this shit all the time, though. People getting fucking arrested. Cops show up at their fucking house, barge in, and arrest them for things that they posted on the fucking internet.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's insane, dude. It's
well, I know the child grooming. There's a lot around that, especially like local precincts, like locking people up for commenting on that situation, that's just it's like who's the government protecting at that point?
Right. Sounds like the fucking kid dealers to me.
The British minority or the Islamic majority?
What was the one political commentator that just got out of prison for bringing the grooming scene to light?
Tony Robinson, I think. Tony Robinson.
That's it. Yeah. They say he just got released not too long ago, and they're still trying to put him back in jail for talking about it.
Yeah. Well, they don't like a lot of what Tony Robinson says. Tony Robinson's pretty fucking base. He's a Nigel Farage fucking Brexit dude. So,
in that era.
Yeah, Steve Bannon had something to do with that, and I think a couple of the other people from Trump's campaign were coordinating with those guys.
Now, is he still in UK? Like, if he goes back, would he get arrested?
Tony Robbins? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, I mean, it's crazy to think about. Like 10 years ago, you probably have a normal opinion in your country, and then like now you're literally looking on the outside in, thinking like, damn.
Yeah, you're a fucking fugitive of the government for shit you said on the fucking internet. That's retarded.
That's and yet those same places are telling us, hey, Ukraine or Russia's they're a terrible government. You can't trust them. They arrest people, kill people. And it's like, man, you're getting awfully close.
Right.
Like you're going down a fine line.
Yeah.
Look at Canada. The Human Rights Tribunal put fucking comedians in jail because of jokes.
Yep.
Yeah, this guy.
You're getting rid of the comedians, then that immediately shows that your speech does not matter.
No.
It doesn't matter who you are. You can catch these hands.
But I was gonna say, wasn't there like a cartoonist also who got arrested? That's probably been a little while. So, but it's just wild.
It is, man.
How dare people have different opinions?
This is really the only country in the world that has legitimate freedom of speech, and they're trying to infringe against it every chance they fucking get. You just had fucking Jen Psaki and Joe Biden try to come out with that what is that joint operation with Facebook and Twitter and all them to try to get to disinformation, right? That's what it was in the name of stopping disinformation. Thankfully, they nipped that in the bud, because not only did every fucking Republican in the country freak out about that, but the Democrats were like, wait a minute, man, I've said some pretty fucked up shit too.
Yeah.
We misread the room. We thought y'all were for this. My bad.
Yeah.
But they're this close to fucking doing it, though. They were this fucking close.
But honestly, they would, I guess, Democrats probably would have supported it if it wasn't for the social pressure around, hey, man, this is going to go bad really quick.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they supported it. They support Meta doing it. They support Twitter doing it. Like, they were fine with that. But it's like, oh, if you would have just changed the name and made it sound a little bit more presentable, they probably would have been all game for it.
Yeah. Because they always do whatever the fucking party says anyway, man. They all march in lockstep. Everybody would have supported it because it was Joe Biden coming out and instituting the thing in the first place. It would have been fantastic because Joe Biden did it. Now, if Trump had done the same fucking thing, it'd be the biggest issue in the world for them.
Yep. Well, it's not the action that's bad; it's the man that's bad.
Right.
Isn't that like how Devon was arguing it? It's not. You disprove this thing, but it's the context. It's the context.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
context is nuts.
That was such a weak just kind of it I don't know what would the word be. It's not deflection, but it's like, you know, everything that was said, every claim that was made in one direction had to be expounded on, and rabbit holes had to be gone down, and like we really got to look into this and get to the bottom of this. But then other blanket statements were made in the opposite direction, and it was like, well, no, it's just true.
It's like, different. That's different. It's hypocrisy, man. That's all it is. It's hypocrisy. It's blatant fucking hypocrisy.
He's digging for something he can focus on, that he can shift the argument toward to where it's more favorable for him.
Right.
And so it's Destiny does it a lot. Like,
oh yeah,
Destiny will dig and dig and dig, and then he'll find something, and he's a little bit more savvier with it. He's able to then shift the whole conversation and just focus on this one thing.
Yeah. But see, that's why I like watching Rob debate him, because whenever Rob is very good at controlling the direction of the conversation. Yep. So whenever Destiny tries to do that, he goes, "Hold on, wait a minute," and fucking vaudeville hooks him back into what they were talking about. It's fantastic.
It is.
I wish I would get to see them debate again, but I completely understand why. I mean, it's hard to debate with someone who's not going to show you the same faith that you're showing them.
Well, it's not that Rob would even deny it. He would, but Destiny fucking blacklisted him. That's what, you know.
Oh yeah, well that's true too. Yeah,
that's Rob keeps poking him, thinking he'll come back one day, but I don't know if he ever will. He probably won't.
Nah.
No, he's gonna make him look like an idiot again.
Yeah, he always did. You all think that's the first time it ever happened? I mean, it's happened a dozen fucking times. I've seen Rob stomp that asshole into the ground. It's hilarious every single time.
That was just the worst one, because he fucking rage quit, and he even said it afterwards. He was like, "Oh, yeah. I shouldn't have done that." There you go.
Well, I mean, realize that, hey, I can't just casually talk to this person, because this person could expose me for the person that I am.
Right.
So you gotta blacklist them. You gotta.
I think that's what it was ultimately, because you're right. Every time he would hook him back to the issue, it'd be something along the lines of, "Well, I'd be glad to address that if we can talk about what I was talking about just a second ago. If we can get back to that, let's go on." You know, and then Rob will reiterate his fucking point, and then Destiny's like, "Fuck, I thought I got away from that."
God damn it, no!
Like, we have to move on.
Right. Oh, I've heard Destiny say that so many times, but.
Rob does debate Radical Coder, by the way. They're lower class on the 28th. There is a debate between Radical Coder and Rob.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what I was talking about.
I looked that up last night.
I just debated him last night, actually. What's up, Balsanya? Crustiny.
I missed that.
Yeah, man. Or Epstiny. That's another good one.
Were you on Sarah's panel when you did that one, or which panel were you on?
I was on Jess's panel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was on Jess's panel. It was a 2v1 there for a minute, because him and Mel both got on. So
they always fucking suck each other's dicks. I hate it when they get together in a room.
No, it's okay. So it essentially started with, Mel and him were going at me, and the topic of the debate was, should society tolerate and accept female promiscuity and feminism? And I made sure to make a clear distinction that, from my position, I'm against promiscuity in general. Also, I'm against the kind of red pill movement and feminism. And there's a good argument for how red pill is just like the male version of feminism.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I am not in favor of I'm in favor of intolerance on a citizen to citizen level. But when it comes to the citizen to state level, the state shouldn't get involved in anything like that. That's just my personal belief, right? I think that as a society, we're the ones that direct the way that society goes. And I feel like, with two main things, shame and then societal incentive, you could really push society into actually giving a damn about marriage and all that. And it was funny because they would levy all of these studies and research papers and all this shit at me. And
of course, where's your study, bro? Where's your study?
Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to play this game too. And I put mine up. And of course, whatever I put up, that wasn't valid, or that's not what we're talking about, and yada, yada, yada. And it was like, no, that's what are you talking about? You know? Like conceptually, marriage is the exact opposite to promiscuity.
Right.
Is that a fair statement?
I know. I think these are two polar opposites.
Yeah. So what I had posted was like all of the literal physical health benefits that come from marriage, and that's studying a lot of people over a long period of time. There's like a longevity of life, healthier mental health. There's financial structure. There's just like a whole levy of like benefits that come from being in a structured monogamous marriage. And like the essentially the argument was, well, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about because we're not talking about marriage. And it was like, that's such a bad faith way to go about that, because conceptually they are like exactly the opposite thing.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, a lot of times when they argue, should society support this, they're usually some type of undertone of like political institutions should support this, or the government should support this. And it's kind of like,
welcome in, man.
I'm a little wary of that.
Yeah, well, so I don't support the ideal of like what we were talking about a little bit ago, where you're going to send the Gestapo out to round up your wife who's cheating on you or something like that, right? But government-sponsored messaging has a lot to do with like the anti-tobacco movement and shit like that. So there's a lot of publicly funded messaging that goes out in public interest, and I think promoting shit like marriage, and shaming shit like promiscuity is probably a fine thing for that to be participatory in, like put it in schools that mommy and daddy stayed together and that's why I grew up happy, shit like that or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the government does everything bad, so I would say they would do a terrible job of that.
I'm just saying, like that level of involvement I'm okay with, but I don't want the Gestapo going out and arresting people for doing porn.
How dare you sleep in another bed? 15 years.
Yeah.
You didn't give me a blowjob this morning. 10 years down the pike.
Right.
Oh, easy now. I can't support that. No, I'm just kidding.
I support it completely.
Oh, y'all are crazy.
I'm just saying the nuance. We gotta get the nuance of it.
Okay. 15 years on a dildo.
But yeah, it's funny. So yesterday we were going into I've been doing, I don't know if it's necessarily a series, but like during the streams I've been going over like God and society and like actually going through studies and stuff involved with that. And it was funny because yesterday we went over one. I don't remember where it was from, but they had gone over all these like this big test that they did with people in Germany during the pandemic and the lockdowns and stuff, just to see what religiosity is what they call it, what its effect on social cohesion is. And it was funny because the way they went about it was, they essentially measured through like a survey where people's trust in certain thing was over in Germany. And when you look at the data, people who were more religious tended to have a lot more social cohesion, like citizen to citizen and citizen to state, than people who weren't. The only thing that was different was like social trust. So like individuals, right? And that makes sense. There's a variable there that's involved because we were dealing with a sickness that at the time was believed you can not have any symptoms and you can still get it. So, or you can still spread it. So it was just funny how like the evidence went in the exact opposite direction I think they were trying to go for. So instead of basing their conclusion off of the information at hand, they said, "Well, we're gonna need to do some more research. The conclusions aren't really there." And it's like, what are you talking about? Like all of this data is right here in front of you, and you're not gonna even like try to make any conclusion from it. It's so weird, bro. It's crazy.
We need a whole new set of funding to fund another survey to see if we can get different answers, so that way we can give you all the different answers.
Right. Insane.
There's a whole bunch of like, what the fuck?
But that's where you get with these studies, because a lot of people they won't look into the actual data. They'll look at the conclusion, and that right there was a prime example of why just looking at the conclusion isn't necessarily like a good thing to do, because the data itself speaks for itself. I don't know, it's just weird. It was crazy.
can't believe people funded that. Is I guess a better way of saying that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
But there was also some weird like World Economic Forum insert key buzzword. Like it seemed like they did a heavy focus on inclusivity and diversity. They also were saying how social inclusion is increased when you have a minority belief system or a minority framework inside of it. But it seemed like they were leaning more toward that being a Christian's fault or the majority problem, when in reality it's a minority problem.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hogwash.
It always is a very vocal minority on the fucking left, man. Anybody that they can cater to and try to convince with money or some type of social influence, they will. But what is it? DEI is a great example of millions of government dollars being squandered on propaganda and messaging, essentially. So we need to shift that, as Rob often says, we need to shift that in our direction. You know, if USAID wants to pay, NPR and fucking NBC hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever every year, then we ought to shift that money over to Fox News and, Newsmax and fucking One America, all of that. The pendulum has to swing. I guess that's the end of the story. If the pendulum doesn't swing, then our country isn't balanced. We're just ever venturing closer to the cliff of communism, and that's not good.
No, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think and this is just a personal belief. Oh, sorry, go ahead, EOD. I know you.
I just want to finish the thought. Just one sentence is just that when that pendulum starts going the other direction, the lefties will think twice about being overt about it in the future. You know what I mean? So that helps us down the line too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. I think a lot of that, and this is just a personal belief, right? But like the societal shift starts with society and government follows suit. And I think like we are the ones who have to start making that change societally, and that's where, things like getting government out of marriage. So we can, as a society, develop what marriage is and develop the importance of it and, its social utility. And then if the government wants to talk about something, we can talk about it later. Personally, I'd say go fuck yourself, government. You're my employee. Don't try to stick your hands where they don't belong. Stay in your lane. But, getting them out of that, or like for instance, going back to the topic last night, like societally shaming promiscuity and then socially or societally incentivizing living a more like structured lifestyle and building a family and like having children and really like boosting the economy. That's the thing is, it's a hard argument. Like I will give it to him. It's a hard argument logically for promiscuity because there is literally no social utility to it at all. None. There's no social utility to that, but there's a very strong social utility in building a family and having children. Like that's what's going to build our society and it's going to bring a new generation into the world. So, having a structured family is so important, especially with all of the data that we have today on like single family homes or single mother, single father homes, all these different aspects. Like all the data is there to show that structured families with a man and a woman as mother and father, having children and raising them is the healthiest environment that kids can grow up in.
Sure.
Believe it.
I got something for you though, lower class. ML over in my chat says, I disagree with lower class. Pretty sure society is determined by force of law, financial repercussions, etc. And I would ask ML, like, how would you encourage, single family homes then, rather than split homes or broken homes or places where daddy doesn't even come around anymore? But
well, see, that's the thing that caused this, like single mother homes. Like it's the government incentive to divorce.
Yeah,
like that's I understand where that logic comes from, how things need to be forced, but at the same time, you're coming from a perspective of force with a government that, when given the power to enforce something, has incentivized the breakdown of the American family.
Yep.
So, I mean, if we can go down the rabbit hole of this, yeah, that's fine. But that line of logic is going to require a very specific hypothetical in order for it to actually be enforced in a way that you want it to be enforced, right? And I would argue at that point, if that hypothetical is in place, then the enforcement mechanism wouldn't even be needed to be applied. Because if society already values marriage and society has with a society that values marriage, it's going to vote in the people that are going to back those ideals, then what's the point in having it being forced? You know what I mean? Like that hypothetical being in place kind of destroys the argument of it being forced.
Wait, is he saying like society can only like be developed, or like is like the society need the force to, I guess, go one way or the other? Or I don't quite understand what he might be saying.
He's saying, he said literally, pretty sure society is determined by force, but he goes on. I asked him how would he encourage single family homes. He said financial incentives, but we allow no fault divorce. If we didn't allow it, giving financial incentives and more time off things that make it worth raising a family, better loans for homes. There's ways to encourage it, is what he's getting at. But,
okay.
But that's not force, that's incentive.
Yeah, right? Yeah. True.
Yeah. See, I can agree with that to a degree. Like, if the government's going to be involved in some capacity, I would much rather them be involved in an incentive base when it comes to like developing the home and staying in the home, versus them like, get married, don't have sex with anybody. I mean, like, at the end of the day, when the government forces something, it's not going to stop that thing from happening. That's why there's literally like kilos of fentanyl coming. That's why there were kilos of fentanyl coming over the border for the last 4 years. That's why people have been overdosing on drugs for over 100 years, probably longer by now. So like the government having its hand in things and an enforcement mechanism doesn't necessarily stop them, can honestly make them more dangerous. So what I would recommend would be like an incentive basis, because people operate by and large off of incentive. That's, to me, that is like the most efficient way to do something. Look, we incentivize divorce rates are through the roof. You know what I mean? So it's those kind of that line of logic.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. Somebody else go for 30 seconds.
I because to me, I guess I don't necessarily think society goes, forward only through force. I think force is probably the most like easiest to use. I think a lot of people can control society outside of force. And so I was just confused at the scenario of, is it only force that pushes society, or is it, just what he thinks is the biggest factor in pushing society? And I guess who he means by, is it the government's force pushing society, or is it just anybody's force?
Yeah. What was I going to say is, I agree that incentives structures in government would be more desirable to enforcement structures in government for marriage. However, it's my contention that government should not be involved in it at all. Like, if my forethought was carried out, then the federal government would pass a law saying that states do not have, the ability to litigate marriages in any way. And then at that point, they would have to resort to doing something like a civil union. It would become less prevalent, and then the church would be the way that marriage is recognized. And I think those same incentive structures can come from the church too. So
that's true too. That's true too. And like, even the incentive of like, hey, we look negatively on divorce, and so there's a social pressure to be like, well, I don't want my marriage to end up as a failure because the people around me, not that they don't like that, it's just I would rather not have that shown to them. That makes sense. Which the church has been really good on like issues like that, of kind of the social embarrassment of being, the guy that cheated on his wife, or guy did something, or girl did something that ended the relationship.
Yeah, and your priest is going to be a lot better at helping you find a way to navigate that than some secular marriage counselor who's got 50 other clients that day.
Mm-hmm.
The priest is they're going to be a lot more invested in the community of the church at large and your life at large. They're going to know you better. They're going to have attended cookouts and events with you before and gotten to know you outside of, worship and whatnot. So,
well, they have a general investment in your marriage as well.
Absolutely.
And it's like with the government, you're just insert X name, divorce, insert Y name. Yep, approve.
By the way, guys, just a quick side note. It's storming pretty bad right now. So what's up, Zen? Thank you for coming in, dude. I appreciate it, dude. Old Zen Shapiro, man.
What's up, Zen?
But I just want to let you all know it's storming pretty bad. So at any point, my power could go out or my internet could go out. So everything might come down just abruptly. Just want to let you all know ahead of time.
Dun.
Yeah.
No, you're lying. You're gonna rage quit on all of us.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Oh, Heavy Fisted says marriage existed before what looks like.
and then Corey
He must be having a storm too, I reckon. I don't know.
Yeah. No, he'll be back in just a sec.
All right. What am I saying? Heavy Fisted is saying marriage existed before any form of government and religion. And I'm like, I guess to some extent, but you know what? Even Neanderthals had mates or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess.
Back then it was a lot easier. Men would just hit a woman on the back of the head and grab her by her hair, like, "This is mine now." Walk away.
Well, exactly. And then
exactly.
somebody else would come and challenge him for her, and she was a piece of property. It was a much different world.
Yeah.
Right. I will say, like, I get where the logic for force comes from when people want to talk about those kinds of things, but at the end of the day, we already have, like, what, 200, almost 200 years of history in America where we didn't enforce marriage with the government and they lasted and were much more successful. And I think really what that comes down to is like the societal pressure, like the societal, well, you could call it a type of enforcement. Yeah. But I'd say, like, like a good marriage and, starting a family and not going back on your commitment and covenant with God, those things were held in much higher regard than they are today.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, me not cheating on my wife is a bigger fear factor from God than the government.
I hear that.
Based.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Because what's the government going to do? Tell me? God can do a lot worse than that.
Yeah. You're coming from a perspective of Christian morality. I think the government has to be able to operate with people that do not adhere to that. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Within and around people who do not necessarily adhere to that. So that's what makes it, I don't know, defining what the government should be a little bit ambiguous sometimes for me. But it's definitely, I feel like there are two very distinct roles that each should serve. And the government's role is very, very small compared to what it actually is versus the church's role is very big compared to what it actually is.
Right.
That's a balance that has to be corrected somehow. I'm not sure how to do it appropriately. But.
Yeah.
I guess it would just start with us prioritizing, like individually, us prioritizing God over the government and every facet we do.
I hear that.
And it'd be a long time till it changes, but it's just something. So I guess we have to keep in the back of our mind.
I got to take my dog out real quick. I'll be right back.
Do your thing, man.
He's about to bust a gut. It sounds like, or somebody cut off his arm. One of the two. Anyway, I'll be right back.
Poor dog.
All right.
I didn't want y'all to think I was like just not talking because everybody was talking. I was totally just numbing on some KFC.
I was eating a Hot Pocket.
So hold on. So Zen's forehead wants to know: does anybody prefer a monarchy over what we have now?
Fuck no.
Yeah, probably not, because it's kind of like a Kamala monarchy. Don't sound too nice.
Yeah. See, that's yeah. If
you gotta break it down. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Ashton. You were talking, bro.
No, I totally cut you off. Go for it. It's all you.
Oh, you're good, man. Yeah, I was just, I was just gonna say, like, the problem for me, where that lies simply comes back to, it seems good if the person who is king does the things I agree with, but the second someone's in power that doesn't do things that I agree with, I'm gonna hate the fucking monarchy. So
Can
that's
you? I was gonna
that's
say, can you name a monarchy with checks and balances?
yeah.
And would it be a monarchy if it has those checks and balances?
Read Josephus on Germanic marriage. It's pre-Christian. All right, yeah, I'll check that out. Dusty, how you doing today, man? Good to see you. Thanks for
What's up,
stopping in,
Dusty?
bro. All right.
I was gonna say with the monarchies and stuff, it's a lot even deeper than that. Sometimes when you actually break it down to things, it's you have one governing body versus no checks and balances to help protect the people that you're monarching.
Yep.
So when the monarch says, "Guess what? We're going to war." Guess what, soldiers? Hey man, hey men, line up, boys. We're going off to war.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's like, do you trust the government to overrule your life now? Now, would you like to make the government kind of more direct? And now, do you want them to have power over you? I'd be like, probably not.
Well, it changes the hierarchy of the society as well, because then you have the upper echelon of the monarchy, and then you have the feudalist class like the peasants.
Yep.
And we would all be fucking peasants.
So, Dusty, I couldn't find much on Josephus and what he said about Germanic marriage, but from what I've seen about Germanic marriage, it's like I wouldn't believe in anything like that. Like severe punishment for adultery. I'm looking for more. I mean that in and of itself, right? Like that when it comes to Tacitus. Oh, okay, no problem. All right, yeah, I'll look up and see what he has to say. Okay. All right. There's an AI, not an AI overview here. Their marriage code, however, is strict, and indeed no part of their manners is more praiseworthy. Almost alone among barbarians, they are content with one wife, except a very few among them, and these not from sensuality, but because their noble birth procures for them many offers of alliance. So, like, kind of more along the lines of political marriage. Okay. I'll pull this up. We can read through it, boys, if you're all down with that. Hold on. Let's go here, here, here. Dusty, thanks for bringing the good shit, my friend. I appreciate it. All right. So Germanic marriages. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Dusty is a smart dude. He was on the panel that I was on last night. There, I think it was last night or the night before. I think at Sarah's, and I'm glad he kind of kicked me down because I actually learned more from him being up there than listening to everybody else that was on the panel.
Oh yeah, I like Dusty, man. Dusty's good folks, for sure. All right. So Germania, one of the smaller works of Tacitus, probably written between 98 and 99 CE, contains a lot of detailed information about the appearance, everyday life, customs, and religion of the Germans. Particularly interesting seems to be the description of marriages that Tacitus sets as a model for his contemporaries, spoiled by luxury citizens of the Roman Empire. Germanic women got married late, and so did young men. Until then, they lived clean. The dower was brought by the husband to his wife. These are not valuables, but oxen. Okay. So the wife gift, a shield, and a sword. Such gifts were to remind the women that she would share all hardships with her husband, even wars. Tacitus recalls the tradition according to which women often brought to order the broken order of their husbands by putting their breasts on them.
I can support it.
Yeah. They were also the closest surroundings of the warrior. They treated his wounds and encouraged him to fight. What were you going to say? My bad. Hello?
Yeah, I tend to feel the same way, Doom.
Oh,
I was kind of open to him at first.
I had to yell at my kid. My 2-year-old decided she wanted to stand on the back of a chair and try to frogman splash onto the couch.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, I listened to him some more. Then I was like,
One sec.
This is just degenerate anti-Christian stuff.
Men had only one wife, while women in some tribes, even after the death of their spouse, could not remarry. See, now I don't.
That's a little extreme.
Yeah. See, I don't see that. I mean, like, let's say I were to get married to a woman, and then I get in a car accident a year later, and she's 2 or 3 years younger or older than me. Like, she still has the potential to like have children, and I wouldn't want to societally strip that from someone. Adultery does not often happen here. It was punishable by cruel punishments. Yeah, see, there's a little like too much. I mean, I see where you're coming from there, Dusty. I'm not a big fan. I take the position of, like, government wouldn't have much to do at all, if any, with relationships by and large.
I'm okay with the
I just wanted to answer Dusty's comment right there, because he said about the panel. Yeah, the one you got kicked off of, you kept booting me and somebody else off because we didn't have cameras. It was fine. Like, I'm totally glad you did it, because, like I said, I learned more listening to you talking about the panel and like what they were trying to do, because I was getting lost in their lingo. So I actually appreciate whenever you did put me in the back so I could hear the arguments better, and you actually made it easier for me to understand.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying about it. I wasn't the one that kicked you off, dude. I don't have enough money for that shit.
And is Sarah the one that runs the Raging Tomato?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to look for more of these debate panels and stuff like that. And the Raging Tomato is one of the ones that I found a couple days ago.
Hers is hard to get a word in edgewise if two people start going at it. Like, it's hard to get a thought process through without like 15 other voices talking.
Yeah. Well, she's usually packed it to the brim too, so that doesn't help.
Because when I was in there, when you and Abe were in there, and the entire time I was there, I don't think, besides Abe saying one word, maybe two, I didn't. It was just between Bryce J and another guy, Corinth.
Yeah, Corinth is from the Crucible.
And I just noticed it would get hyper focused on them two, and then everyone else would just be listening.
Yeah, he has a good argumentation, but he's not. I don't think he's Christian. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure he's not. But he's very slick-witted with his tongue.
Actually, he just hit you with the say it with your chest.
Yeah, well, that's ultimately what it is. To actually get something out on Sarah's fucking panel. That's for sure.
I just don't like yelling over people. That's my thing. Like, I'd rather hear the thought process get dragged out than whenever you're soft-spoken on stuff like that. I agree with them. You do need to kind of like, you have to say it with your chest to get your voice heard. But like, being new to the scene of the debate panels and stuff, I don't want to make myself look retarded either. So I would rather sit back and kind of like focus on the things and listen in. And then if I get the chance, then I'll be like, okay, this is where I can like interject my thoughts.
Yeah, well, you're still kind of waiting for that, but you have to come out swinging, essentially, is what Dusty's trying to tell you. Otherwise, somebody else is going to butt in and say, wait a minute, let me go first. Yeah,
for sure. 100%.
That may be why Duck did what he did today. He must be used to that.
Yeah.
He came in swinging and then immediately left. And I was like, damn.
Like I said, he wasn't interested in a conversation. He wanted to piss somebody off.
That's true.
Wow. That sounds like a cat's being molested.
No, that was my 2-year-old throwing her water bottle at me because it didn't have enough water in it, even though it's like 3/4 of the way full.
She's a big girl, Daddy. She can handle a whole bottle of water.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, she's my bully. My 5-year-old son was like 10 times easier than her. She is my like, you do it now, kid. If you don't do it now, I'm gonna throw it at you.
I've heard that. My cousins raised girls, but my brother had boys, so I helped bring them up. But yeah, it wasn't too hard. I was like, yeah, I remember doing that when I was a kid, you know.
I am the oldest out of 6, and I am the only boy.
Oh,
nice.
So I have 5 younger sisters. So yeah, it sucks.
What are you doing, puppy?
What kind of dog do you have again, EOD? Is it German Shepherd, which you said?
Yeah, mostly. Well, speak of the devil, come here.
I grew up with Shepherds and Goldens. My Golden Retriever would attack on command, and my German Shepherds were like cowards. They would run and hide behind me before they ever attacked somebody.
That figures. Yeah, Golden Retrievers are bossy. I raised a Golden Retriever first, and then I had a German Shepherd mix, 25 years ago or something. And then I had Aussie's a boxer mix, and now I got another German mix.
Yeah, I can't have dogs in my rental house, or I would have either a Shepherd or Newfoundland.
Yeah, I moved in with Ozzy. You hush. This one is a freaking rebel. I tell him to do something, and he wants to do the exact opposite.
Sounds like my kid.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? I moved in here with Ozzy. Ozzy's a big-ass fucking dog, so my landlord's cool with it. Everybody around here has dogs. We have a pretty bad crime rate in this neighborhood, so it's understandable.
Baseland.
Yeah, my mom has 2 German Shepherds and 2 Newfoundlands right now.
Damn.
And her one Shepherd is like 35 and a half at the withers. Her Newfoundland is like 4.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. He's
Newfoundlands
not even a year and a half old.
Gigantic. Those are gigantic dogs.
I call them the black bear and the grizzly bear whenever I go down there. Because like when my oldest was like 3 years old, she got her first Newfoundland, and she's like a pure black Newfoundland. She was laying down inside her crate, and my son went over and kept like messing with the crate, messing with the doors and everything else. And I looked at him. I said, "Stop doing that. She's gonna stand up and eat you." No, puppy small, because she was laying down.
Yeah.
While he was turned around, she stood up, and he was turned around again, and she was eye level with him.
Oh shit! That's a big dog.
But they're babies. They are literally like 120, 140 pound lap dogs.
Yeah. The people across the street had a Newfoundland. Yeah, that's the one that sort of looks like a Saint Bernard, but it's black on the back, right?
It looks like a Saint Bernard, but they have more of a longer coat.
Yeah.
And they are like one pure color. They're usually like a dark brown, a chocolate, or like a black color. Yeah, I don't know. They're in the same category as Saint Bernard.
Yeah. That and Mastiffs, right? They're pretty much same kind of build. Gigantic fucking dogs.
Mastiffs are more like a Cane Corso and a German Shepherd body.
Right.
That's the way I always describe a Mastiff. Like you have the height and the stockiness of the Shepherd, but then you have the power of the Cane Corso.
All right, I'll be right back. Hold on just a second.
Oh, you're good. Lower class had the BRB, now EOD's BOB, and it's me and you, Big Soda.
I know. I was gonna say, I don't know. You watch UFC at all? This is related back to the dogs.
Yeah. I watch UFC.
The Wonder Boy Thompson or Stephen Thompson.
Yeah.
Okay, so he lives in my community, or at least his father runs his dojo out of our community, and he's got 2 Cane Corsos named Bane and Bocce, and those dogs, they like very gentle and calm dogs, but they would rile each other up, and the fight, or I wouldn't say fight, but the playing really sound like some aggressive fighting.
Yeah, it gets that way sometimes, especially between boys.
Yeah. Like my mom's shepherds, they'll literally sit there and toss each other around. But as soon as the oldest shepherd or the oldest shepherd and the youngest Newfoundland get together, it all stops. Because like the old shepherd, he literally just looks at her and he goes, "Okay, that's enough. Like you're done doing that now." And they're like, "Oh shit, we pissed mom off, or we pissed dad off." Like I remember whenever I was a kid, we had a shepherd that lived to be 19 years old. And she was literally like, she was mama bear of the house. And we just gotten our shepherd puppy, and he was nipping at her ears, nipping at her feet and everything. And she literally just stood up one day and put her paw on him and flipped him on his back and laid him down. And she just stood there with her paw on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like, from that point on, he would, like, go right over to her, lay down, and just put his head down underneath her, like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'll do it again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's an alpha asserting dominance right there. I've seen it happen a lot of times. When I raised the golden retriever, we had the shepherd mix 25 years ago or so. Golden retriever was my first dog. She was about 5 or 6 when I got Maggie, the shepherd mix. I'm not sure what she was mixed with. She had floppy ears, but big bushy coat. She looked like a shepherd in every other way. But Maggie Maggie ended up becoming the alpha because we had taken Casey to obedience school, so I think her will was kind of broken, but we didn't do that with Maggie. So Maggie ended up taking the alpha spot in the pack, and she would hover over the fucking food bowl and not let Casey eat. And so Casey would have to come out and whine to us that she's guarding the food. She won't let me have any.
Dad, she's not letting me have num-nums. I'm scared.
Pretty much. She was a big damn baby, too.
Well, she knew who the real alpha was.
Right, that's my dad, so.
Yeah, like when I was a kid growing up, I had a shepherd. My mom originally got him because she wanted another shepherd. And at 5 weeks old, he was very young whenever we got him because the breeder didn't want him anymore. He came running into the house. I was sitting Indian style playing Xbox 360 with my friends. And he literally jumped in between my legs, laid down, and went to sleep. And as soon as he did that, my mom was like, well, there goes my dog. Who picked you? And till the day that dog died and I moved out of the house, that dog, literally, I had pictures of it on Facebook. He slept in bed with me underneath the pillows. Like, he would crawl himself underneath the blankets and lay his head on his own pillow, and he slept in the bed beside me for like years.
Ozzy ended up doing that with me because I raised Ozzy while I was in the Air Force, so I was the alpha. But...
Yeah. Oh, they pick German Shepherds pick their people. Yeah. That's where a lot of people get miscommunication that Shepherds are more territorial. They'll guard the house. No, they could give a shit less about the house. There's the person that lives in the house.
Right.
As long as that person's okay, they don't care what else happens.
Right.
Whereas like golden retrievers, Goldens and Labrador Retriever breeds, they are territorial. This is my yard. This is my house. These are my people. Don't touch.
Right. Well, see, that's going to be an interesting thing with him. I had to put him in the kennel. He would not stop clawing at me. But he's a Labrador German Shepherd, I'm pretty sure, judging by his coat and his ears. He's young yet. He hasn't fully grown yet, but I think he's Labrador Retriever or Labrador German Shepherd.
Yeah, I would say German Shepherds that's the weird thing with Shepherds, especially when you start getting like mixed breed Shepherds and stuff like that. It's hard to delineate which breeds they get mixed with.
Yeah.
Because the German Shepherd breed takes over so much of the genetics.
It's very dominant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the ears.
Very, very dominant.
Any Shepherd mix usually has floppy ears. But...
Another way to check, this is kind of like a funny thing, but it fits for most German Shepherds. If you have a Shepherd that has like a tricolor to them, or even like a delineation of black and gray or black and brown, look at the top of their forehead. There's always a bat shape on the top of their forehead, like right between their ears. It looks like the Batman symbol. That's the best way to look at it if you have like a purebred Shepherd.
Yeah. He's got these, Frodo has these 2 eyebrows that are light colored on his black head, but yeah. I don't know if he's going to keep those or not. We'll see. Oh, we got N-word in your chat over there, lower class. It says my 220-pound English Mastiff submits to my 80-pound pit bull.
No. Whoa! 220-pound old English Mastiff?
Mastiff, yeah.
Fucking massive dog.
They are huge, dude. Mastiffs are like bears. They're huge.
Yeah.
Well, they were bred to fight bears in like Russia and Ireland and stuff like that. That's what they were bred for. And they literally had the breed to protect them against grizzly bears and like Russian Yukon bears and shit like that. So that's why when you see a Mastiff, they were bred to take down a bear if need be.
Right.
That'd be
I thought that comment was gonna be a little different when I heard EOD say N-word in chat.
N-word in chat, so did I, bro. I was looking at the fucking weather radar and I heard N-word in chat, lower class, and I went, oh!
I was scrolling through the comments like, where is this at? Like, how did this get posted?
He did that on purpose. He named himself that on purpose for exactly that reason.
No, but hey, N-word. Bravo. Bravo.
Oh shit, man. Richard Misfit says, "What's it eat? Whatever it wants." Pretty much.
All of the food.
All of it. What is it? My neighbor, at one point, back when I lived with my parents, was he had 2 Rhodesian Ridgebacks. One of them was a mutt, and that dog was pretty reasonably sized, but the other one was like 4.5 foot tall, standing on all 4s, and it's like built like a pit bull. It's a massive beast. Like they use those to hunt fucking lions in South Africa. Those things are crazy.
Have you ever seen a Norwegian? Oh, excuse me. I have like the hiccups and the coughs today for something fierce. Have you ever seen a Norwegian Irish wolfhound?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
The Irish wolfhounds and the Norwegian Irish wolfhounds are like a shepherd on steroids with a curly coat. But they're huge.
Oh, these guys. Yeah, I've seen them in movies and shit. But I've never actually encountered one. But yeah, they're unusually tall dogs.
My mom's a dog groomer, so like that's how I know so much about like dog breeds and stuff like that, because like she actually had to go to school for it. So
yeah, there's a school for that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like most people think like when you go to like Petco and stuff, like now Petco and like big shop stores that have like the grooming and stuff inside them, those people are not actually trained in grooming. They did like a 10-hour course on the computer and that was it. My mom actually went to one of the 2 schools that are on the East Coast in Pennsylvania and Indiana, to where it was 600 hours of training, like kind of similar like a cosmetology school. And then you had to do like 100 hours of actual grooming before you could like pass. And she actually has her master's certification for dog grooming via the AKC.
Nice.
So like
American Kennel Club.
If she wanted to, like if she wanted to go to the Westminster and work as a groomer in the Westminster Dog Show, she actually has the ability to do that because she's actually certified via the AKC as an actual groomer. So yeah, she's owned her own business in that for about 13 years before she finally closed it down after COVID.
Oh, that sucks, man. I was gonna say it sounds like she'd be the perfect person to open a business doing it.
Yeah, she ran the business out of the basement of our house whenever I was a kid after my grandmother passed away. Nice. And she turned the basement into her grooming shop. She wasn't allowed to because she wasn't commercially zoned. She wasn't allowed to do like advertisements or anything like that, but she had like a word of mouth business, and it was a big business for our town. Like, she groomed a lot of like the mayor's dogs. Like, she did a lot of like the school district church people, like that my gram knew from driving driving bus throughout the years, and
nice.
Then COVID hit, and it stopped. It stopped it because she wasn't allowed to groom for almost a year, so she had to find other ways. Luckily, my dad works construction, so he was still in work. But other than that, she lost a lot of business and money during that time.
COVID ruined so many small businesses, man.
It shut down many small businesses like mom and pop stores.
Yeah, all over the country.
Bolstered so many big, massive corporations.
It was the largest shift of wealth from the poor to the rich in the history of the fucking country.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. Like I got lucky. I worked for a mom and pop shop for my rent-owned company. It's a family-owned and operated business. There's only 5 of us that work there now, and I got lucky that we were considered an essential establishment because we were technically a loan office because of the rent to own and like the leasing and stuff like that. So like we didn't shut down. We couldn't have customers come in, of course, but like we got to go to work every day and stay in the store, and we basically remodeled and redid our entire showroom and redid our entire floor.
Look at that fucking pug. I swear. He's spoiled rotten.
He is so happy. He is the happiest little pug. I normally don't like pugs, but I will say this. I'm biased against pugs because I don't like them. Charlie is by far my favorite fucking pug. Such a cute little fucking thing.
He's just such a good boy, man. I love him to death, dude.
How old is he?
He's 5.
Is he?
Yeah, he turned 5 on the 14th, actually. So.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
He is the king of No King's Day.
He got bully sticks and a nice little doggy cake and all that, dude. I do the whole 9 for him. I don't care. Call me gay. It's fine.
Dude, my mom took better care of, like, and I say this with true, honest love, and I love my mother to death, and I know my mom would do anything for me as her kid. But sometimes as a kid growing up, my mom took better care of her dogs than she did us kids. We'd get a big old scratch on our arm, and it was, put some dirt on it, put a little bit of water in it, you'll be good to go. The fucking dog would fart crooked, and she would have that thing in the fucking mat. Like,
I need an MRI.
Literally, I shit you not. She spent $180 the one time because our oldest German Shepherd was going to the bathroom too much, and she was afraid of being like she had bloat because like her stomach was really tight. Yeah. Took her to the emergency. $185 later to tell them she has a fucking gas. Give her some Pepto-Bismol and she'll be fine. Oh yeah, my mom was hysterical. Thought the dog was dying because she had like a stomach twist or something like that. Ran down, like took her like an hour away to the emergency 24-hour vet. Paid all this money, and the doctor looks at her and goes, "Well, ma'am, we're glad that you really care about your dog's life, but she has a little bit of gas. She'll be fine."
That's an expensive lesson to learn right there.
Oh, my stepdad was pissed. He was fucking livid. He's yelling. Like, I remember, like, I was with my gram, and, like, I remember my stepdad coming in the door. You gotta be fucking kidding me. $200 and some to fucking have us told that this dog has gas? You fucking idiot.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. There's one joke. It became
dang, Edward, I'm sorry to hear that, man. But I will say, dude, Argentino is a really good dog name. I like that dog name.
Doggo Argentinos, they're fucking huge, dude. They're bigger than Cane Corsos.
Oh, that's a dog. Oh, I thought he was saying his dog was named Argentino.
No. Doggo Argentinos are their own breed. They're like a subclass of the Canine Corso breed, but they're like, you've watched Steven Crowder, haven't you, lower class?
What happened?
You've watched Steven Crowder?
Yeah.
Okay, his dog.
Oh, that's a Doggo Argentino. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a Doggo Argentino. They look like Cane Corsos, but they're not as ferocious. But they're still like, if you fuck around, you're gonna find out.
Yeah. For sure. What's his name? Joe Louis. He looks like he'll tear somebody up too.
Those Joe Louises, they know how to handle themselves.
That's Joe Louis. That's the name I was trying to fucking remember. Thank you. Big Sid. I appreciate you.
Anyway, speaking of dogs, my dog's gotta fucking get fed, and I'm brewing iced tea, so I'm gonna go do that. But I do like hanging out with you guys. It's been good times.
Yeah, EOD, thanks for stopping in, bro.
Hell yeah. And
yeah. By the way, EOD, where do I find that Mad Max game at? Is that on Steam, or is that on, like, what exactly is that on platform wise?
Yeah, it's on Steam. It's from 2015, so it'll run on a fucking potato.
Oh, okay, sweet. I was watching you play that the other day. I was like, that actually looks pretty fucking fun.
It is, man. It's a blast. But sometimes it turns into a scavenger hunt, which is a little less than ideal. So for streaming and shit like that. But I don't know. I enjoy it. I did some of it offline today, and I'm still gonna continue going on with it. But you know, it's fun. It is. It's a very underrated game. It flew way under the radar. I think something else that was a big name came out the same year, so nobody knew about it. But
yeah.
When did it release?
2015. It was 2015. Yeah, it came out when the movie did, when Fury Road came out.
Wow.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's pretty cool because it's got groundbreaking footage of the LA riot.
Right.
He's in footage of the LA riots. You son of a bitch.
That's what I called it when I first started streaming it.
When you said that, it killed me so much.
Well, I have an intro to that stream. If you go back and watch I reposted it as a video, I think, but the intro was that, it seems like LA always riots. Democrats always make excuses for it. And then, 5-10 years later, they're finding another excuse to riot. So if this cycle continues, eventually, this is what LA is going to fucking look like.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Escape from LA.
Because all the taxpayers are going to move.
Right. And they're going to run out of money to pay for all their social shit. But
I think Family Guy's got a joke about, I think it's either Belk or J.C. Penney or one of the places in the mall. And it's like so old school that it's tore down and there's like a little Mad Max inside of it.
Yeah.
Most of their stores are closed down in my area. Like, we don't even have J.C. Penney's. We don't have Sears anymore. We don't have Macy's anymore. Like, our mall is like, it's so sad. Like, the mall is literally just a college and an arcade all in one.
Well, anyway, man, I'm going to head out. Thanks for having me, Lower Class. I'm sitting there. Everybody go over to Lower Class's channel. It's Ghetto Raid Lower Class. Because I can't raid y'all.
But. And I'm going to post your channel up in my chat so everyone goes and subscribe. Subscribe to EOD, guys. EOD, have a great day, man.
Thanks, you too, man.
Enjoy your day, brother.
I'll see y'all later. God bless. Yeah, I do like those guys. Lower Class is good times, but yeah. Y'all head over, chill with Lower Class or, JS or whoever you want to fucking chill with. But I was hanging out with Lower Class. These good people. If I can get that thing to close. And I'll see y'all in the next one. I'll be around. I'll be doing some D&D prep work later on. So if you want to get together in the Discord, I'll probably be hanging out in the Discord. We'll do that off stream though. But yeah, in the meantime, I gotta feed the dog and put together my iced tea. And then I'll probably be in the Discord here in a little bit. I'll see y'all later. Cheers.